I'm just gonna test this out right now. This part two. I don't know what's happening right now. Feel like I'm being attacked. Really do feel like I'm being attacked. My accounts are being attacked. Not working on TikTok. Not working on X. Let's go ahead and see if it is. Uh, yo, somebody said I'm raging. I'm like I'm close to raging out. Yeah, 100%. Like this is crazy. Starting 2026 off with glitches, man. Let's see. Okay. I'm not a happy camper right now. 100% not. I'm definitely not happy. I'm not happy about. Definitely not happy about this. I know I'm live though. Welcome to the breakdown, episode 644, part two, where I'm trying to see if we can continue and move forward. You look at part one, the entire show's blacked out. People can sort of hear me and stuff. You guys can call up. How about this? We're gonna go. I'm gonna open up. If it works, I'm gonna open up the phone lines right now. And you can go ahead and call up. I gave my takes on. I don't know if did you guys even hear me fucking talk? Did you guys even hear me talk about the fucking markets? I am fuming right now. I am fuming. I am 100% fuming. This is wild. This is wild. Look at me. I'm trying to come. By the way, we have a guest coming on at 1:15, so stay tuned. Fred Krueger is coming on to the show. So we'll have that. Talk about the markets, talk about Bitcoin 4-year cycles. But man, what the fuck is happening here, man? For real, like what is happening? Like I have to sit here right now and check that we are live. This is crazy work. This is definitely crazy work, man. This is crazy. I never seen that. I'm gonna hold this up real quick. Let me do the Gemini first, and I'm gonna be right back. This show is sponsored by Gemini. Part two of episode 644 is sponsored by Gemini. Go to Gemini.com/David G to find out. Excuse me. Yeah, David G. Gemini.com/David G. I am fucking on one today to look up or look at the lineup of credit cards that Gemini has to offer. Terms apply. I'm back. By the way, this is a bottle of water. It's not alcohol. But right now, and I don't drink. I absolutely do not drink. But right now, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my goodness, man. I honestly, I'm frustrated. I am frustrated. Live on stream, I am frustrated. And I'm hoping that Fred, when he comes on here today, he can go ahead and take me out of this vibe right now. Because I'm feeling a lot of things and I want to say a lot of shit. And I feel like I know where this is coming from, but I'm just going to keep my mouth shut. You know why? Because I know God sees everything and karma's a bitch. That's all. And I just need to leave it there. Those smiles will be easily wiped off, and I can't wait for that to happen. But I leave that in God's hands. I do. I do. And you might be tuning in and being like, "What's happening?" Well, what's happening is the last, yesterday's Monday was the first show back, 2026, first show back, and accounts all fucked up. Okay, every other fucking social media platform is doing well. X, my home, the home of the brand, is like fucking shadow ban, whatever you want to fucking call it, confirmed by X. They're working on my account because it got reported, massively reported. It's not like the first, like people report my account all the time, but this is crazy, man. This is absolutely fucking crazy. Fucking with somebody's brand is absolutely nuts. But of course, we got fucking gangsters on the internet, man. Keyboard warriors and sneaky bitches that just sit back and just wish ill will on people, which is wild. But like nothing, and I say this respectfully, nothing will stop me in 2026 and beyond. Nothing will stop this brand from elevating and doing massively big things. We got such a fucking wonderful lineup coming that like there's absolutely nothing. There's nothing. You can pray to every fucking god, pray to every fucking god, and there's nothing. There's nothing you can do except sit there and watch in pain, as I continue to go ahead and take shit to the next level from a podcasting standpoint, from a media standpoint. There's absolutely nothing you will do. And you can look me dead in my eyes and you can see it. Those who know the passion. Yeah, I'm this is life right here, man. What I do here every single day, this is life. This is life. Shout out to everybody who's tuning in from TikTok. Everywhere else, everything else is working. Everywhere else, everything is working except X. So okay, it is what it is. It's not the first time, won't be the last time. So let's get moving. Okay. Shout out to everybody who's tuning in. Yeah, I just got. By the way, I just got fired up. I got fired up, and like that, I don't need no more fuel. I don't need no more fuel. I already have a ton of bricks and chips on my shoulder. Like you don't need to get me more fired up. But this just makes me more determined. It just it makes me more determined to know that people are sitting there and just like praying for the downfall even more so now. And you know how I love haters. I want more haters. I want more haters because they come to the show. But to sit there and be spiteful and do this kind of stuff, I'm holding my tongue back. I'm still holding it back. Because I believe in God. Like I really do. I believe in God. I really do believe in God. And I know if it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not be in a month's time, but down the line, God and karma have a way of working them things out. I don't pray for any. By the way, I want to say this: I don't pray for anybody's downfalls. I don't pray. If I essentially, if when I sit here, and I mean this with all sincerity, like I don't think about nobody except myself and those closest to me. That's it. I hope that you do well. I hope that you kill it, but like, there's not a thought in my mind, not a single thought. What happened is my account, which was, I've confirmed it. And I have plenty of proof of that. My account was massively reported. Uh, a lot of it came from the political conversations that I've been having, but like I really am in my heart of hearts. I feel something, and when I feel something, I'm usually right, and it's okay. At this point in 2025, as I said before, bear market, shitty attitudes. 2025 just a shitty year for a lot of people, not for me personally, but it was a year for me where like I kind of like realized what I need to go ahead and do for myself. I mentioned this a lot of times that you have to, at some point in your life, you have to become a little bit selfish, especially when you're a truly giving person. And there comes a point where you become selfish. Just a little bit, and that's okay. I've talked about this before, and I've talked about this on some of the clips that I put out there. You have to become a little bit selfish for yourself. There's nothing wrong with it either. Your brand, if you're building a brand, if you're building, you want to be out there podcasting, you want to build a big platform, you have to absolutely focus on yourself. And that means that you're going to be a little bit selfish. That doesn't mean that you're a selfish person. That means that you respect yourself enough to dedicate and focus on yourself. How are you going to elevate people? How are you going to lead if your shit is not 100% up to par? So you have to go ahead and make sure that you fix your shit first, and then you lead. And then you might help out here and there, but like you have to stay focused on your shit. And I know a lot of people have tuned in right now to hear me talk about crypto. You heard me yesterday. You heard me talk about how I thought 2025, and I said this, and you can pull up the tapes. They're all recorded. How I said, like, or that was a year, excuse me. Last year was a year where it was a bear market. Like, it was really a bear market. And only Bitcoin ran up, institutional run up. And you had like 7 or 8 fucking assets that broke all time highs, but they didn't really shatter them. It wasn't like oh my God, it really, no, it was just like, okay, it broke all time high, but by a little bit kind of thing. It really, that's real talk. That's real talk. So, but 2026, I said quarter one, 2026, we're going to see something special. And I feel it. I still feel, even when like right now, I'm raging and I'm holding it in well. I'm holding it in well because I know this show is going to be clipped up by my editor. My editing team's going to clip this up and we're going to make something out of this. By the way, I gave a lot of thanks and a lot of shout outs to Michael Saylor, Arthur Hayes, Perry Ann Boring, Luca. I can name so many people that came on to the show in the last, I would say in the last 2 to 3 months of the year during the whole rebrand. It was dope. And what's coming now is this year, what we have lined up is really cool. Like I got the podcast coming out, and I think the podcast is going to be really, really dope for me, for the brand, and for the people that come on there, and for the audience. And I really know that this show from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to go to a different level, especially with the guests coming on, and a lot of guests that you guys are going to be surprised. They're going to be like, he has this person on. Yeah, it's going to be those reactions. I am leveling up. But when you level up, and it's so true, like it's so true. When you level up, there are fucking things thrown in the way before this shit happens. Anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can bring on it. Let's see if this works. If somebody wants to call in, help me out here because I need somebody to call in. Let's go ahead and call in to the number 347-630-2399. Call in right now because I want to see if this fucking platform is working. I want to see if this shit is working. So call in right now. Let's go ahead and chop it up. Okay? And you'll help me at the same time to make sure like everything's working on my end. Okay? Oh no, I clicked the goddamn wrong button. Goddamn. Always something. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to get the. Yeah, you can call into the live show. The show is live now. Well, it's always been live, but you can call in. We got 15 minutes for people to go ahead and call into the show. So the number is 347-630-2399. I'm connecting everything right now. Okay. Show got started off part 1, which is out there. I left it out there. Part 1 started off shitty. Okay. Part 1 started off shitty. You couldn't see me. Okay. Like John Cena, you couldn't see me. Okay. You couldn't see me. But let me go ahead and I think I got it connected. I think I got it connected. It's just ringing? Fuck. Fuck. Let me see. Like, man. Okay, hold on. That's my fault. Again, bear with me for a second. 347-630-2399. You can call in now, okay? The lines are open. We could talk about crypto and we could talk about politics. I could take 2, maybe 3 calls before we get on with Fred here. A lot of you guys know Fred. He holds shows every single day on X. I think he does some other stuff, but I see him all the time on X. See him all the time on X. Also known as Twitter. Also known as Twitter. Hold on. Need somebody, give me 1 second. I think people are calling and like I'm fucking up here. Hold on. Jesus Christ. I don't know what the fuck is going on. No, there's no way. Okay, if you were calling, okay, now here we go. If you were trying to call into the show, you can go ahead and try to do that again. 347-630-2399. Give me just a second here. I'm so scared to fucking touch anything right now. I feel like if I go ahead and move anything right now, it's all gonna fuck up. I wonder, I hope it doesn't fuck up. I was talking about the SNAP program, by the way. I know this is a little bit off topic, but I was talking about the SNAP program and how there's no way 42 million people are on it. Like, there's no way that 42 million people are on the SNAP program and they all are in need and they can't find a job. Especially everything that's happened in Minnesota. everything that's been exposed in Minnesota. Like, there's no way. Absolutely zero way. Zero. No way. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I hope this works. I hope. Let's take the first caller. What's going on? You're live on the breakdown with David Gokhshtein. What's going on? Hold on 1 second. For some reason, I don't hear you. Give me 1 second. Let me change that around. Let me change that around. Look at this. Technical difficulties from all over the place today. This is crazy. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can get you on here. All right. This is wild. It won't even, I can't even get you live on the air, but like, what's going on, man?
What's happening, David? It's Rocky, man. It's been a long time I talked to you.
Rocky, what's going on, man? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure. Finally getting over some of these health issues I've had forever. That's what's been happening with me. Looking at the crypto markets, watching everybody say that Bitcoin was going to burn to the ground and go to zero and get rid of it. It's not going to skyrocket again until it gets regulations put on it. Man.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing well. I'm glad that you're doing better, man. And hopefully in 2026 you'll get on your feet, man.
Oh yeah. I'm working on it, that's for sure.
A lot of people said that Bitcoin was never going to come back, and 100%. I don't know. I gotta fix this shit. Honestly speaking, I gotta fix this thing. This shit. I'm gonna throw my fucking phone today. They said a lot of dead, so people using their social media. What? They said a lot are dead, so people using social security, not media. I hate this app. Right now, there is nobody that dislikes this guy. Oh my God, I am so frustrated today. You are seeing me melt down right now, man. You are seeing me melt down today. You are really seeing a meltdown. I am melting down right now. I know I'm gonna come back bigger and stronger tomorrow, but like, holy shit, I am having a meltdown. I am having a fucking meltdown today. I am totally having a meltdown. The markets are doing great. Crypto's doing great. I want to talk about crypto. I want to talk about how Bitcoin is shocking people who are sidelined right now because they believed some random motherfuckers on the internet talking about how crypto is never coming back or it'll come back in the next 2 to 3 years. I want to get into this kind of conversation, and I'm having a hard time doing it. I am having a hard time doing it, okay? Because nothing's working. My account on X isn't working. My stream isn't working. It didn't work in the beginning. It's not working now. Okay, people are talking about where do I go to watch your show? They're DMing me and asking me this, and I can't answer all these DMs. But if you're watching, you could go to YouTube or TikTok. I'm trying to hold it together right now. I am really trying to hold it together. The markets are doing great. My accounts are doing dog shit. If you've been listening to me about crypto, then you've made money. If you've been tuning into my shows, you've made money. If you feel like I haven't given you alpha, then my guests have given you alpha. Okay? I had the CEO of Bitwise on here giving you alpha. We had Michael Saylor on here giving you alpha. Yeah, I had everybody possible giving you alpha. I'm ripping. I am. Whoa! I am fucking. Ah! And I'm shadow banned on TikTok, which is fucking crazy. Not for the lives yet. Not for the lives. But now, where I'm averaging like almost 1 million likes on videos, or I can average anywhere from 300 to 400K views on videos, now it's down to 20K. They are censoring all over the fucking place on me. Ugh. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely fucking ridiculous. This is absolutely fucking ridiculous. This is fucking crazy. This is absolutely crazy. But at 1:15, I will have Fred Krueger on, and we'll be talking about obviously the markets. I have questions for him. Okay. And maybe, just maybe, we can ride this ship out of the storm. We can ride this fucking ship out of the storm. I actually thought about the fucking gym. As I was sitting here, I swear on my life, as I was sitting here, all bullshit aside, Clippers, as I was sitting here, with all the malfunctions happening, I said to myself, I'm going to have a good day at the gym. I am going to have a phenomenal workout. Since I can't talk about Ethereum and what Ethereum is doing, or what phenomenal things Bitcoin is doing. Damn, Bitcoin is down 2.5%. Ethereum is still holding 32. XRP is at $2.23, not $25,000, as some predicted. Okay, some people were predicting that XRP was going to go from like $2 to fucking $25,000 in 5 days before the new year. I have the videos we are chopping up these videos. We're going to showcase these videos. They were lovely. Lovely videos. 25,000. What is wrong with you people? My audience is confused on TikTok because most of my audience on TikTok is political, and they're tuning in. They're like, why is he talking about crypto? Seriously, I got people in my DMs on TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. I think TikTok is so underrated. They're in my DMs like, bro, don't you talk about politics? What's this crypto shit? It's crypto is dog shit. And I'm like, oh, my entire audience is so fucked. I gotta pick and choose. I gotta pick and choose on TikTok. Either I'm gonna be doing crypto on there or I'm doing politics. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. The start to the year. The fucking lineup that we like, yeah, I'm gonna keep talking. The lineup of people that we have coming onto the show this year, it's fucking crazy. It's fucking absolutely fucking crazy. The start to this fucking year, to this goddamn show in 2026 has been dog shit. I got fans from the political world. I got fans from the crypto world. Everybody's fucking confused. Meanwhile, people on TikTok are talking about XRPs going to $30,000. You know, anybody who's talking about XRP going to $30,000, you know they never went to school. Like there's no doubt about it. Anybody who says XRP is going to $30,000 did not actually attend any sort of. I'm only laughing. Where the hell did you get the number? Where are you guys getting this number of $30,000 XRP? Where's this number? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe it's me. You know what? It's me. Maybe it's me. Maybe XRP is going to $30,000. And maybe I'll be sidelined. Where is this number coming from? That means, I want you to understand this. That means everybody's going to sell their Bitcoin. I'm going to sell my Bitcoin. Everybody's going to sell their Bitcoin. We're selling our Ethereum. We're selling everything. And we're all going into XRP. Plus, the United States of America is going to say, you know what, we're going to let's print out all this money and we're going to inject it straight. And then we're going to have Peter Schiff. Shout out to Peter Schiff. He was on the show. He's going to come back because he wants to talk about his precious metals and how, I told you so. That means that Peter Schiff and the Gold Bug gang, they're going to sell gold. So we're going to have everything that just goes into XRP. You guys are insane. Honestly, realistic expectations. Okay? $7, $8. Okay. Let's make these arguments. Not $30,000. Anyway, we'll be back in 2 minutes at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to bring on a guest. You guys probably know him. Stay tuned. And this commercial break is sponsored by Gemini. Go to Gemini.com/David G to find out more about the lineup of credit cards that Gemini has to offer. The Bitcoin credit card, the XRP credit card, and the Solana credit card. Get up to 4% back on your purchases. Also, click my link. The link with the pretty face on it. Go ahead and click that link. Sign up, trade $1,000 in crypto, get $100 in Bitcoin. We'll be back in 30 seconds. All right, we're back. We are back. Hopefully it'll work this time. Anyway, let's bring in our guest. He's been in the green room Nobody's offered him water or M&Ms or anything. Let's bring him right in. Fred, what's going on? How's everything going?
Hey, how's it going, David?
Good. Appreciate you coming on. Looking forward to this. I want to ask you about the markets. I want to ask you about last year, and I want to ask you about this year. Let's talk about a little bit about last year. Would you agree? Well, this is my take at least. I think 2025 we were in a bear market of sorts. We just had Bitcoin run up institutionally, but everything else, I mean, a few things went ahead and broke all-time high, but it wasn't. I just felt like, honestly, bear market-ish what we experienced in 2005, and I think it changes this year. Your thoughts, though?
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it a bear market. I think we're in I don't think we're in the 4-year cycle. I don't think the 4-year cycle exists. I think the reason why 2025 was a disappointment is that there's a whole lot of people who believe in the 4-year cycle. I would say the majority of OG Bitcoiners believe in the 4-year cycle. And I think, there was a massive amount of buying, but there was also a massive amount of selling by OGs. And, I think those are the two sort of conflicting things. I think net, it balanced out about even, right?
Yeah.
But there was just massive amount of selling by whales, by OG whales. And that's, I think it was because there was this fear of the 4-year cycle. They wanted to get out before the end. And so they front loaded, they pre-sold it. They sold it before the end of the year, and in September, they were already selling it. It was just so much buying, you didn't see it. Right.
Yeah.
But I think these two things balanced out net. I don't think we're in a bear market. I think, from the institutional side, I think everybody buying the ETF, it was a banner year, right?
Yeah.
We had more inflows on IBIT than we had in silver or the gold ETFs, right? So this was an amazing year for institutions buying Bitcoin. It was a major year for the legislation, the bank adoption, all that stuff. It was a great year. But, most of the Bitcoin is still held by non-ETF holders. And, it was, let's say it's 4-to-1, you know what I mean? Of Bitcoin that moves. And so I think that dominated, and net, the OG selling reversed the other bullish trend. So that's kind of my view of it. I think that in the end, I think everything is poised for a very strong couple years from here, regardless of what happens in Washington.
For me, I want to clear that up. It was a bearish time for altcoins because a lot of people are in altcoins.
Yeah.
And they expected all-time highs to hit during 2025. Bitcoin's in a bull market, like 100%.
Right. Yeah.
Had a great
I really
time.
distinguish between crypto and Bitcoin.
Correct.
I'm not 100% anti-crypto. When I'm just, I look, the institutional demand for crypto was not there, right? You now have Vanguard who's buying Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
They're not buying Solana. They're not buying Ethereum. They're to some extent Ethereum with Tom Lee, right? But really, this is a Bitcoin thing. Once you get beyond Ethereum, I'd say there is no bid at all from institutions, from sort of stock market ETF buyers, right? There are a few of these things now. There's a bunch of Solana ETFs and so on. But there's no bid really. I think all the real institutional money is coming into Bitcoin and will continue to go into Bitcoin. So that's kind of where I think if you're in XRP, I noticed you were talking about XRP before. Yeah, you're not going to get the kind of massive adoption to XRP that you might have, 4 years ago. And I also think that, when you're looking at these other coins, like other layer ones and stuff, there just isn't a narrative there anymore. There's not much of a narrative. Like, who wins? Will it be Solana? Will it be Aptos, Sui, some Ethereum layer 2? I don't know. It's just like the Hunger Games out there.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin is kind of sitting there and it's the only kind of pure, pristine store of value out there. And I'd say that difference between it and everything else is pulling wider, if anything.
Yeah, like there's no disagreement that Bitcoin is the standard, and I've at the end of the day, all roads lead to Bitcoin. I've said this for the longest time. The XRP thing. I'm on all these social media platforms, TikTok particularly. There's a big, XRP is going to 10,000. XRP is going to by hype people that are just hyping. They don't know tokenomics or how any of the shit works in economics. So or in the market. So the numbers that they're putting out there, I'm like, you're talking about like things that will never happen. But Bitcoin has escaped that bubble. Bitcoin's in its own. I love the fact that Vanguard has opened up and said, hey, clients of ours, they can go ahead and buy into Bitcoin. And Bank of America came out and said that they would recommend 4% of people go into
Bitcoin, not into crypto, right?
We had Sailor on, Michael. We were talking and 100%. But 2026. So now I don't believe in the 4-year cycle. You don't believe in the 4-year cycle. A lot of people got caught up in the 4-year cycle. What do you see happening now in 2026, especially for Bitcoin? What do you think Bitcoin heads
for Bitcoin in 26? I'm bullish short term, medium term, and very much long term. But I am really bullish. I think that the biggest thing going for Bitcoin is we're gonna have lower short term interest rates in the U.S. That's just a fact. May 15th we have a new Fed chair. He's going to be announced soon. He could be announced a week from today, right? It's going to be a very dovish Fed. We're going to be printing a lot of money, and that's the number one determinant of bull markets in Bitcoin. There's never been a bear market in Bitcoin that has been simultaneously with them having looser monetary policies. Never happened. 2022. It was the end of the 4-year cycle, but it really was the Fed ratcheting up rates. That's really what happened in 22, right? Same thing that happened in 18, right? Same thing. So, at the end of the day, that higher interest rates are going to be, you've been fighting higher interest rates for a long time. We're getting much lower interest rates now. I think that's incredibly bullish for Bitcoin. And you have this institutional adoption. We have banks that you're going to be able to buy Bitcoin at your bank. You're going to be able to buy Bitcoin in Charles Schwab, within 180 days and Citi, you know what I mean? And probably Bank of America by the end of the year. So I think that if you think, okay, imagine you walk into your Bank of America branch and you say, I'd like to deposit some Bitcoin. And they say, great, scan this QR code. I mean, can you imagine that? That's where we're headed. And it's not like 5 years from now. It's, some people are going to get it in the next 180 days, right? Very large millions of people are going to get it. So, that was inconceivable for us Bitcoiners 2-3 years ago. It was just inconceivable that you would have that, right? But it's a fact,
Correct.
The fact that we're having a pro-Bitcoin SEC, a very aggressive Fed, that's going to come in. I think we have, if you ignore that, I think you're ignoring it at your own peril. I think these are once in a lifetime bull things that are going to happen, and, you can look at charts, you can look at drawing lines on a graph and you can say, okay, we're hitting some kind of, support, resistance, whatever. It doesn't matter because the big macro picture right now is shaping up to be such a monster year for 2026. I would be really surprised if we didn't get almost double in Bitcoin in 2026. Something of that nature, I think is kind of in the cards. So, you can't trade it. We know that. If you try to trade it, you're going to get whipsawed. You're going to lose out. If you try to find patterns, exactly when you think you found a pattern, you're going to miss the 10 days that matter in Bitcoin. So you have to be in it and you have to take the pain, and that means, a day like today, you're down 2%. Okay. You're down 2%, that's what you signed up for. You know, that's it. There's no hedging that risk. That it's not hedgeable. You know,
Correct.
You know, you start selling your Bitcoin now. What tomorrow it could be up 10%, and
Correct.
so you know, and it could be as simple as saying Trump says, you know, we're having a Bitcoin strategic reserve. You know, I'm decreeing it. I'm taking some Bitcoin that I've seized from Maduro, and that's it. And by the way, we're gonna start buying Bitcoin. You know, where's the price of Bitcoin after that statement? You know, we're at 150,000, right? After that, instantly, right? So I just feel like you cannot trade this thing, and you have to have really strong belief in this thing. And I don't view that, you know, the maximum correction it's been was 36%. 36% is not a bear market in Bitcoin, you know, and it didn't go down 36% from having gone up 100%, you know, it went up a maximum of 33% in the year, you know, that was the maximum it ever did.
Yeah.
So, you know, we never had a bull market blow off. We never did, you know. So you can't say we had a bear market. We didn't. You can't really even say we had a 4-year cycle because we only had 2 up years, right?
Yeah.
The 3rd year was down. So there's no 4-year cycle. There was no blow off top. There's no crash. You know, there's tons of institutional buying. There's tons of reasons why we can be pretty optimistic about what's going on in Bitcoin. So I say all in all, you know, keep your head on your shoulders. Don't sell. Don't try to trade this thing. And if anything, you know, if you're not fully allocated, you know, get fully allocated, in my opinion. You know, I think you should be very, very allocated to Bitcoin here. Like, I mean, 70% of your net worth kind of allocated to Bitcoin. That's kind of my feeling. It's, you know, there's not a lot of other assets that I would want to put my money in right now other than Bitcoin.
Peter Schiff would disagree with us, but I think
he was right. Finally, he was right for a year, right?
Yeah.
He
was on here. Right. I was battling him back and forth, and the number you
can never win an argument with Peter Schiff. You know, it's just not possible, right?
Yeah.
It's just that there's sort of an algorithm there that basically, you know, no matter what, you know, and for the next 10 years, I'm convinced that Bitcoin will probably outperform gold and will probably exceed the market cap of gold in the next 10 years. And, you know, he'll, to the day he dies, he's going to be, he will argue that Bitcoin is not real, that it's a fake. It doesn't matter, you know. But look, there's certain people who they can't make the mental adjustment that this thing that is not physical has more value than a bunch of atoms of some shiny metal. Correct. You know, if you can't get that in your brain, through your brain, you know, you probably shouldn't be in Bitcoin at all, because you're not going to be able to hold on to it. You don't fundamentally understand it. You feel like you need to touch something. I don't know. Like that's a block, right? You got this block in the way you think. Now
it's really weird that everybody uses credit cards. I don't see a lot of people taking out money out their pockets. So,
well, credit cards is one thing, right? So credit cards is, you know, payment is digital, right? But storing your money in something that's purely digital, that's different, right?
Of course. Saving
your net worth and just a bunch of, you know, you're told that you own a few more Bitcoin than the other guy with your net worth. That's a lot of trust, right? And most people don't have that amount of trust. And when the shit hits the fan, excuse my French, when the shit hits the fan, people, they panic and they're like, oh my God, you know, this stuff's all worth zero. And, you know, it's just digits and it's not real. And I should buy houses. I should buy gold. I should buy silver. At least I can touch my coins like Scrooge McDuck, you know. And, you know, like, you know, at the end of the day, we're moving on. You know, we're moving on to a different way. Humans are moving on. We're moving on to self-driving vehicles. We're moving on to digital savings. You know, and Saylor's completely right. You know, this is a better technology for saving money, for holding money. And we need this technology to move forward, right? As humans, we need
Yeah.
this. We need a way to save money digitally, and to save it so that nobody else can take our savings from us, right?
Correct.
It's just we need that, and so that's what Bitcoin is, and it's nobody understands it first time. I mean, very few, right?
Yeah.
And I know a lot. I mean, I know tons of Bitcoiners, right? I'm kind of a in the maxi choir, and so among us maxis, I would say even among us maxis, a lot of people lose their faith. They lose their faith. They say, my wife tells me that I should buy a house, so I'm sold my Bitcoin and put it on as down payment on a house. Like, but a year before they were saying that they would never sell their Bitcoin,
Yeah.
So I get it. We're human after all. And it's hard to adjust to these new ideas. Right.
Yeah.
But these new ideas happen to be very, very, they're better. Bitcoin is a better way of savings. It's a better technology, than gold is. It's a better technology than silver. These are not good technology for saving anything or transacting at all, right? I can't take a silver coin and go to my 7-Eleven and buy a big gulp. It doesn't work. Right? You can't sell these things. The bid-ask spread's like 10%. If you want to actually own silver.
Yeah.
If you don't, you're buying some contract that's you've got paper silver and manipulated stuff, and people need to grow up to the fact that we're no longer living in the 1870s. Okay. This is not like some kind of Western, where you're like Clint Eastwood and you're, handing the barber a silver coin and say, give me a shave. I mean, we've we've evolved, right? We're moving into artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, robots, flying cars, AI, and we're moving into digital money. That's it.
Yeah.
We're moving into digital store of value, money that you can't screw around with. That's the future. Now, if you don't see the future, you're probably going to be very poor. I think you're going to be very poor. At the end of the day, if you can just accept that this is probably the money of the future and just resist the temptation to sell it and resist the temptation to take profits, I think you're going to do really well. But it's the hard thing is just doing nothing. That's the hard thing, right?
Yeah, being patient. A lot of people weren't patient in 2025. I know.
Even being patient in 2022. Look, at the end of the day, were you supposed to sell your Bitcoin in 2021? No, you weren't. At the end of the day, how many people?
A lot of people, Fred, a lot of people sold
and bought at 15,000. Nobody did, right?
No, but a lot of people sold almost conservatively, almost like not the top, but they came close to selling the top.
Yeah,
and then they waited for Bitcoin to retrace, and then double their position in Bitcoin.
Yeah, not that many did that. Okay, so you know what a lot of people did? They got out. They got out at like maybe 50K. They never got back in. Okay?
Yeah,
they never get back in, and I'll tell you why. Is a lot of people. First of all, human nature is you don't want to go buy back in higher than you sold. You just don't want it, right? Because that's admitting that you're a moron, and we don't like to admit. We do not like to admit that we were wrong. We'd like to think of ourselves as really smart, not traders, but asset allocators, whatever.
Yeah.
And we like to think that we can predict the future. We can't, right? And so, I know a ton of people who owned a lot of Bitcoin in 2017. They don't own any Bitcoin anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people from that era. They're not Bitcoiners anymore. There's so many stories of people who had tons of Bitcoin, don't have any Bitcoin, and so I would argue that you have to really look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, am I going to really be the smart one who, beats all the odds, sells at the top, buys lower, manages to, pay income tax somehow, because I'm going to pay income tax on all that, right? and still manage to succeed to like Arbit? No, probably not. You know, probably not. You're probably not going to do it. So, you know, it's a sort of the same thing with like any super growth asset, you know. Take Amazon, you know, who's one of the richest guys in the world today? It's Jeff Bezos. You know, how
100%.
much Amazon did he ever sell? None. He didn't
Until
sell
recently. Until recently.
Until, you know, Mrs.
To
Bezos.
pay for lavish weddings and stuff. But
well, you know what he did though, actually, is he borrowed against his Amazon.
Yeah.
To do that. You know what I mean? So he still didn't sell his Amazon, you know. So, you know, at the end of the day, you get these opportunities to own these assets that are going up, you know, 40, 50% a year on average with a ton of volatility. Now, you can either live with that volatility, you know, and as I have, just live with it. You know what I mean? And you know what? If you bought Bitcoin at 5,000 on average, and it goes to 126,000, and it goes back to 80 or 90. I don't even know where it is today.
it's probably 91. Last time I checked, it was like 91
okay.
change.
You know, you don't. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, was I not?
Fred, hold on. Here's the argument then.
Yeah.
Because people will be like, okay, because I get people tell me this all the time. I'm a Bitcoiner. I don't see myself as a maxi. I'm a Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
Because I like all the other real tech out there, not the dog shit. I think they're like Chainlink. There is a purpose. I can explain why from my side. I feel like there's a purpose for these things.
Yeah.
But ultimately, again, all roads lead to Bitcoin. But like people will say, well, hold on. Okay, I'll accumulate all this Bitcoin, but at what point can I use it? Like,
well, I'll tell you
point?
David, I'm going to explain how you use it. You know, what is the purpose of Bitcoin? The purpose of Bitcoin is to live off of it. That's literally the purpose of it. Okay. It's literally like owning a parking lot. Okay. Except how do you live off of it? How do you monetize it? You borrow against your Bitcoin. That's what you do. And, you know, listen, I got a fund that I just launched. It's called 2718.fund. You can go there now. You can take a look at it. And we will pay you 10% a year. Take your Bitcoin. We will put the Bitcoin in custody at Fidelity, and we'll borrow against it very, very slowly against your Bitcoin. We'll pay you 10% a year. And you're just going to get 10%. And this is exactly what Saylor's doing, by the way, in a way, right? But he's not paying out a dividend, but he's taking it and borrowing against it to sort of do leverage.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's the solution, right? The solution is you're going to need fiat to live, right? But if you can borrow against your Bitcoin and you not go crazy, not go buy more Bitcoin with it, but actually use it to live, right?
Yeah.
You know, look, if you got, you know, let's say you got $5 million and you put it into Bitcoin, okay, and you want to borrow 10% of that a year, okay. Well, after a year, how much debt do you have? Well, you borrowed $500,000 with interest. Maybe you owe now $750,000, maybe, okay. But now the price of Bitcoin on average has gone up, so your debt now is, you know, 6% of your Bitcoin. Now now Bitcoin keeps on going up. You're borrowing again. You could keep living off your Bitcoin forever. So a lot of us Bitcoiners, we have this sort of buy, borrow, die philosophy, you know, like just at the end of the day, never sell your Bitcoin. You know, if Bitcoin is really low and you can't borrow against it because you're getting too high in terms, then you can't, then you just stop, you wait. But like at the end of the day, it's like owning a piggy bank that's going up in value. So you want to own Bitcoin. You want to own Bitcoin always. You never really want to time the market. Just like Vanguard, you know, the Vanguard faithful, they say never sell your stocks, right?
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's the whole John, you know, Bogle philosophy, right? His philosophy is no, you just buy the S&P 500 and you wait. Yeah. And, you know, 20 years later, and you know what? It works. It does work. And, you know, the S&P has had down years, has had plenty of down years, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't hear Vanguard people complaining about the down years, but
No.
we are such whiners in Bitcoin. It's just amazing. Like, we're down 6% and we're like, everything's broken. It's like, we got to sell, we got to rotate. Man, wait, I missed the silver trade. No, you don't.
He said, I missed the silver trade.
It's like we've become these hypersensitive whiners where if it's not up every single month, and like, where's it up? It's not up 50%. It's broken and something's wrong with it. Like, it's going to zero. No, it's not going to zero. So that's kind of my view of this thing. I think it's you'd be well advised to really put your emotions aside. Start figuring out how to stack more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If you've got a job and you're earning money, you should just stack as much as you can. You don't need to diversify. You don't need to put 60% in the stocks, 30% in bonds, and 10% in Bitcoin. You can put in 70 or 80 or 100% in Bitcoin if you're young, right?
Yeah.
If you're a dinosaur like me, well, you might want to keep, a couple 10, 20, 30% maybe around, in case we have, a couple bad years. At the end of the day, you hold this thing more than 4 years, you're going to be up quite a bit anyways. So, I just think we have to recognize this is the best performing asset of all assets in the history of all assets. It is the best performing asset. It's gone from, 10 cents, when it first started trading. It was below a penny on the Bitcoin Pizza Day. But, in 2010, it was 10 cents.
Yeah.
I bought my first Bitcoin at $200 in 2013, but I didn't take it seriously, but like every single person listening to this could have bought Bitcoin at $200, $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, 50. You can always buy it. And people are going to look back at 2025 and 2026 and they're going, wow, you could have bought it below 100,000. Wow. How did you manage that? You guys must have been really lucky. But no, it's like this thing is on a path. It's on this growth curve, which is a very strong growth curve. Now, with a lot of volatility, but on a very strong growth curve. And, if you kind of graph it out, where is it going? Well, it's going to go to $1 million. And it's not going to $1 million sometime in the future, 20 years from now. It's going to $1 million probably within 7 years.
Okay, so you're on the same timeline as when Michael was on. He said 4 to 8 years. So you're on the same time.
Yeah, no. Look, I've had discussions with Saylor about this, and look, so I've written. I'm a math guy, right? So I study. One of the things that really resonated for me was this Bitcoin power law, right? And the power law it's very simple. It sort of says that Bitcoin price is growing like the power of time, roughly to the 5.6 power, right? So time since the Genesis block, and that's it. So, what that means is if you look at Bitcoin price on a logarithmic scale, but also time on a logarithmic scale, it's roughly a straight line. And once you see that relationship, it's really hard to unsee it, And it's not just the price of Bitcoin. It's also the amount of wallets of Bitcoin. The adoption of Bitcoin, right, is also log. It's a line. So, roughly speaking, there's 16% a year growth in number of wallets of Bitcoin. Number of people who have 1 million Bitcoin, that's growing at 16% a year. Now you say, well, that's not a lot. Well, it is a lot, actually. It's a lot, and all those people are competing for that, for the very few Bitcoin that's up for adoption for sale.
Yeah.
Right? So, this has a compound effect that moves this thing to the 5.6 power, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's happening with Bitcoin. And then hash rate is growing roughly at the 12 power, right? So hash rate is also growing like a power law. So you've got all these power laws in Bitcoin. it's growing like a virus. It's very mathematical how it's growing. And yet, if you're looking at it day by day, month by month, or even, a year, you could just be fooled by the volatility. You can be fooled by the randomness, and you can see patterns that don't really exist. But if you zoom out and you plot the thing on a log basis, you will see that there is a clear pattern. And, look, Saylor's well aware of this, and, I'm not saying he's not mathematical, but he likes to frame it in different ways, right? But he's well aware of the math, okay? And I think he understands and respects the math, and at the end of the day, he's betting on the power law, as I am. We are both betting on the same thing. And I think we both have a lot of conviction that at the end of the day, the power law, the trend is your friend. The trend's going to carry you. And, if by some miracle 2016 was not a positive year, maybe it won't be, it's possible. But, I think we're going higher. You don't get on this power law you don't stay down much. And we're like 20% below the power curve right now, roughly. And, we're not going to stay down that long. And so when are we going to go up? I don't know. I really don't. It could be tomorrow. It could be, after the new Fed chair comes. I don't know. But I do think we're going to go much higher. And I think you just got to be prepared for it. And you got to have that conviction and not try to trade this thing. And
be patient.
If you want to have fun, do some other trading around the side. Trade a few altcoins here or there.
Yeah.
Do it. But your core Bitcoin position, you should really not touch. That'd be my advice to people.
I agree with that, and I definitely want to bring you back on the show in like 2 or 3 months time from now, especially when we have the announcement of the new Fed chair and all that stuff. It'd be great to have you on. I know you have phenomenal shows. A lot of people come in there. I see that you also smack around James Nguyen on the timeline on X, so that's also cool to watch.
He's kind of we were talking with Jason Williams yesterday, actually. We were on a space. We had about 1,400 people in the room at the time. And, a bunch of old timers, and, Mike Alfred and I, and Jason Williams was there. And, we're talking about Nguyen. And Jason Williams, like, he's a construct. He isn't real. He's there to sell more, to get more people trading on DEXs. You know what I mean? Yeah. And his trades aren't real. They're photoshopped. And so, they're just trying to promote the idea that you should be trading at 40 times leverage. You should not be trading at 40 times. No. Do not trade at 40 times. Do not follow James Nguyen. Don't follow a guy who photoshops his trades.
I tell people, don't even leverage, just spot buy in DCA, and just like,
of course, David.
That's it. Like, just let it go up. That you said something, and I say this all the time, Fred. I'm like, just be patient. Like when you don't know what to do, just do nothing. Like, just sit on your hands.
Easier said than done. Easier said than done. But
I know that, but that's the winning strategy, right? Spot.
That is the only way to trade this thing. Look, the guy who orange pilled me was Tom Lee, right? And it was in 2019, in May 2019, I was at a very small crypto gathering in Bermuda to open a bank, and they invited me. And Tom Lee was the guest, and then Tom Lee was I hung out with him. Tom Lee
orange pilled you.
Yeah, he did. I hung out with him for a weekend.
Okay.
And I was like, so Tom, where do you think Bitcoin's going? And he's like, 1 million. And I'm like, wait, it's 5,000. Like, 1 million? It's just about 5,000. And he's like, yeah, 1 million. And I was like, and then he's like, Fred, you can't trade this thing because all the gains in Bitcoin happen in 10 days. So do you think you can find those 10 days? You think you're going to be smart enough to be in the market and out, but if you get out, are you going to get back in on those 10 days that count? And I was like, nope. And then I walked back out and I said, you know what? Listen, I'd been dabbling.
Yeah.
But I was like, listen, I got to take a serious position in Bitcoin, and that was it for me. Now I could have taken four times my position. That would have been smart, but I'm a cautious guy. I've had, a lot of business success, but I didn't want to like go all in on Bitcoin just because I met a Tom Lee, but I put enough in at a good enough price that I have a really substantial position right now,
Yeah.
so, and I didn't sell, more importantly. Right. So that's kind of what it's a very simple message. There's, I think Saylor's orange pilled more people than anybody in the planet.
No,
right?
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
he's been the great voice for why you should own this asset, why you should not trade this asset, and why you should not over leverage yourself with this asset, and I think those are all really smart things. And Tom Lee says the same thing. Tom Lee's, in my opinion, kind of joined the other side here by joining Team Ether. I'm not gonna, listen, if
he's right on Bitcoin. So let me give you this question, the last one, I guess.
Yeah.
So I do believe with you, like I feel like Bitcoin easily hits $1 million per coin. Like that's it's a moot conversation when people say otherwise. But so now Tom Lee is he's still saying Bitcoin's going to $1 million. Like I still watch him and he's like still going to $1 million, but he sees Ethereum hitting $62,000 per coin. I mean, if back then when you guys had the discussion and it was about what you said, it was about $5,000. He helped orange pill you there. I'm not saying you should go into Ethereum, but could he be right about Ethereum, going to these numbers?
I just don't think it's a slam dunk, because I think, look, do we have this financialization, this tokenization of all assets? Yeah, we do. This is coming. This is coming. Okay. We are going to see it. Is it going to be done on Ethereum? Well, maybe. Like I wouldn't bet the farm yet on it. You know what I mean?
But wouldn't you take a position in Ethereum to then take profit to get more Bitcoin? Would that be smart?
No,
a smart play?
Well, for me, no, because look, I'm not. I think there's risk in Ethereum, right? I think there's more risk, and I don't think you need to. I don't see the need, because if Bitcoin's going to $1 million, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, again, when Bitcoin hits $1 million, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'll have an island somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I mean, I don't really need the money right now. I have a castle in France. I have plenty of money and fun things, but I don't really need the money. So, but if Bitcoin hits $1 million, I don't need to double down and go buy call options on Bitcoin. Look, I've got enough money. It's enough.
Yeah. For you, it's like you don't care. Like I just don't care. But somebody,
I don't care if Bitcoin hits $1 million. I'm in the I don't care mode. You know what I mean? It's
But you can understand why younger people would go to Ethereum.
I think
to try to make up to trade their way into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I still think it's a mistake. Look, I think at the end of the day, even if you're younger, right? If you really can convince yourself that Bitcoin's going to 10x from here, right, inside of, let's say, 7 years, 6 to 8 to 10 years, I've been trading for a very long time. 10xing your money in 10 years, not easy. Not easy, right? You know that. It's not easy. 10xing your net worth in 10 years, it's not easy, okay? No. It is not easy. So now a lot of young people think, that, damn, I don't have much. I need to 50x. 10x is not good enough for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a trap, because the answer is you should probably say that's a gift. If you can 10x your money in 10 years, that's a gift. You probably shouldn't shoot for any more than that. That's not wise. And again, if you want to try to do it, go ahead. Personally, I wouldn't do it. I would stick with the Bitcoin, try to get that. And even getting that is going to require you a lot of discipline holding to your Bitcoin and not freaking out and everything else. And, continuously DCAing, you get a big job promotion, your uncle passes away and, leaves you an apartment in, San Antonio, sell the apartment, buy Bitcoin with it. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be in that kind of time, that mindset, right? Of just stacking, and that's kind of what I tell younger people, just like stop the, going to the casino and putting it all on, one number, just go with Bitcoin, get in the stacking mode, you're going to make some money along the way, try to figure out how you can make money in the real world, doing whatever you do, start a business, start a podcast, charge money, get sponsors, learn AI, do vibe coding, become an expert, go work at, a top OpenAI, find a job at Google, get paid a lot of money, right? And then take that money and buy Bitcoin. I think that's your best strategy going forward. And then you're not worried about trading it so much. You're just worried about stacking. How can I stack more? And I think that's going to be the winning solution. Now, I know a lot of young people, they just don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I think if you do stack and, and Bitcoin does what we think it's going to do, it's going to continue to be the best performing asset of all assets 10 years from now. I think if you think about it, we had this asset that went from 10 cents to 100,000. That's a million X. It went up 1 million X.
Right.
Okay. Now you think it's really going to stop there? It's not going to go up 10 million X. Like what goes up 1 million X pretty much in a straight line, log, and then stops and then reverses?
I agree with you. Listen, I'm in agreement.
That's the case, man. It's very unlikely. So, you just got to look at the actual chance that what if like I was completely wrong? This thing just goes to the moon and then crashes. Oh, I don't think there are no other assets that have done that. And Tom Lee makes this point a lot, right? There's no other asset that's gone like from zero to $1 trillion and back to zero. It doesn't happen. So
he's right.
Bitcoin's here to stay. More and more people are going to want it. The adoption is very low. Very small amount of people really have it. There's 100 million people have some Bitcoin, but it's like $100, $1,000. There's less than 1 million people in the world that have a Bitcoin, one Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If you try to get 100 Bitcoin, right? There's 5,000 people in the entire world that have 100 Bitcoin. That's it. 5,000. Okay. I'm one of them, So, you know what I mean? Like, try to get 100 Bitcoin, try to get 10 Bitcoin, like this asset's going to it's going to reward you for stacking and for just being just relentless, like be like the Smog the Dragon, and just hoard this. And get into the hoarding mentality, not the trading mentality. I think that's the secret to it, but people say, well, Fred got lucky. I didn't get lucky. And when I got into Bitcoin, it was expensive then. 5,000 was high, right? So Bitcoin's never cheap. It always seems expensive. But you know what? Right now it's on sale. You can get it 30% less than where it was 3 months ago.
It's always expensive until it goes up.
It's always expensive until it goes up. You should just buy the thing. If you need some emotional, reinforcement, watch Saylor's videos, hop onto one of our Bitcoin spaces. There's a lot of good Bitcoin spaces. I lead a lot of them.
Yeah.
You can jump into one of our spaces. We have a lot of, very engaged speakers who will talk, and you can talk to us. We're approachable, we'll talk to you. And we have
I will say that the two spaces that are out there on X that actually do talk about Bitcoin, you happen to be one of them, where it is a conversation. It's interesting. And for anybody who wants to learn more about Bitcoin, they should go into them.
Yeah. Look, we're an open community, right? And we got people out there who come in and they're negative, or they're pushing some meme coin, and we'll let them talk, but we had a guy in there from pushing this SPX 6900 meme coin, right? And even the guy's 26, and he's like, oh, "Look, man, I can't. I'm too young. I missed the boat on Bitcoin." And we're like, "No, you didn't, man. Like, calm down." How much SPX you? Well, not too much, $50,000. I'm like, that's half a Bitcoin, man. Like, hey, like you might want to just be holding on to that half Bitcoin right there. You know what I mean? Like, and he goes, "Yeah, but I really believe in the SPX story and stuff." And we're like, "Yeah, you might want to have, maybe a tiny bit of SPX for fun. And, you think you really can double it. Why don't you just hold on to a tiny fraction? Just save the most of your stuff in Bitcoin,
Leave a
And
moon bag,
that's
get
the message that
Bitcoin.
we're telling people. It's not rocket science. It's just like this is the good stuff. This is really the good stuff. It's very volatile short term, but it is really good. And listen, you can also buy my book. I don't even know where my book is.
There we go. This is live TV, folks. We're live. There we go. Bitcoin
1 million, the final chapter of fiat.
There you go.
You buy this book, $20 on Amazon. This is a great book, and it has all the charts, everything. It'll convince you. It will convince you that Bitcoin is going to 1 million. That's the only thing. And at the end of the day, all you need to do is get convinced, buy Bitcoin, and to quote my friend British Hodl, you have 3 rules of Bitcoin: buy Bitcoin, shut the fuck up, and get fabulously wealthy.
Fred, I appreciate you coming on. It honestly has been a blast, and
it's fun.
And hope to have you back during this year to go ahead and talk more.
Maybe when the Fed chair comes in, maybe when Bitcoin hits 200,000, we'll see. My pleasure, anyways.
Thank you so much, Fred. Appreciate you.
See ya. Bye.
Man, that was a good long conversation, a good conversation for anybody who's interested in Bitcoin. Seriously, if you're interested in Bitcoin, go cop that book. All right, go get yourself that book. Bitcoin 1 million. There you go. Fred has shows on X Spaces. If you ever been on, if you have Twitter, then you know what I'm talking about. They usually have big spaces and they talk about Bitcoin. I remember spaces in like 2000-ish, 2020-ish, where like people would come into a Bitcoin space and would absolutely get destroyed, whether on Clubhouse or on X Spaces or Twitter Spaces. But now it seems like obviously the crowd's a lot more mature. I'm not talking about Fred, but in general, like the Bitcoin community is a lot more mature, and they have good conversations, whether you come in there to talk about all coins or whatnot. But any case, like I always say, all roads lead to Bitcoin, and ultimately that's what you guys should have. Ultimately, after you, a lot of you guys who tune into my show, obviously you're in memes and altcoins and Bitcoin as well. But I've said this from the get-go. It's you make money and then you get as much Bitcoin as possible while it's still available. Anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break with Gemini. We'll have the quote of the day. My God, thank you, Fred, because you saved me from absolutely taking a baseball bat to every single piece of equipment that I have in my studio. But I'll be back right after this message. And this show, episode 644, part 2, was brought to you by Gemini. Gemini.com/David G to check out the lineup of credit cards that Gemini has to offer, from Bitcoin to Solana to the XRP credit cards. Make a purchase and you can get up to 4% back in either XRP, Bitcoin, or Solana. Check them out. Again, Gemini.com/David G. Also, click my link. Sign up to Gemini, trade $1,000 in crypto, get $100 in Bitcoin. Terms apply. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Welcome back to the show. All right, so I'm going to end it here. Man, I got to tell you, the first two shows, obviously technical difficulties and fucking being shadow banned, all this fucking bullshit. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. I was absolutely pissed off. I was 100%, make no doubt about it. I was fucking fuming. But it is what it is. We shall move forward. We shall break records and succeed. Look, I read some comments. You know how I feel. I'm a Bitcoiner, but I appreciate the altcoins. I appreciate memes. For me, it's like all roads lead to Bitcoin. And if you can make money with, you know, XYZ and you can pull some sort of 10x out of it, I would tell you to, get Bitcoin. 100%. Get Bitcoin. And it's not boomer tech or boomer money. It's like, no, it's your money. I think people get lost in that, especially the younger crowd. And look at me. Look at me. Come on. Nobody would say that I am 44 years old. Not a single person. Not a single person. I look younger than you 25-year-olds, because a lot of you 25-year-olds, you don't have a hairline anymore. Because anyway, but I actually was talking about that subject yesterday night. I was like, yo, I can't do the trenches. I can't sit in the trenches and wait and all this stuff. I'm not willing to lose my health and my hairline, bro. Like I refuse. But you know what? Let me see if I can get the TikTok crowd in. Hold on. Because I can't, Restream doesn't allow the TikTok crowd to be here. Let me see if I can somehow see what is being said on TikTok, because I would love to answer some questions. But nah, I can't do it. Fuck. Shit, I can't do it. Can't do it. Actually, no, it appeared. Some guy said I look 54 years old. I think he got me mistaken with himself as he's looking in the mirror while listening to my show. Look, at the end of the day, take profits and go to Bitcoin and hold and be patient, because the patient win. That's it. That's it. Patience wins. At some point, like, you have to sell your Bitcoin, though. Like, at some point, you sell your Bitcoin, but there will be funds out there that will give you money back on your Bitcoin. Like there's so much being created for Bitcoin that you won't have to sell your Bitcoin. Okay. Some haters said I look between 45 to 50. I've never heard that ever. That is wild. 45 to 50. Crazy work. That is crazy work to say. That I look anywhere near 45 is weird. That's weird. It's always a dude. It's always a dude hating because their hair isn't black anymore. They have no hair. It's weird. Shout out to everybody who hit the like button on TikTok. Shout out to everybody who hit the like button, the hearts on TikTok. Guys, hit me in the DMs. Who should I go ahead and interview from the TikTok side of things? Who do you guys want me to interview from the TikTok side of things? Obviously, we're already kind of like booked up, but if I could squeeze in one or two people, who would you like me to go ahead and have a conversation with? Who do you want me to have a conversation with? There's a comment right now that says, I used to troll David, but now I like him. It always happens. They first hate me, then they love me. That's why I need more haters, because after a few weeks or even a few months, people are just like, I can't hate him. He's too real. His energy cannot be manufactured. It is real. I am real. Look at my eyes. I am telling you, I say what I think at that very fucking moment, okay? There is no fucking script, okay? There's no agenda. I want to see you win. I want to see you win. I'm tired of seeing you look homeless and broke and being a non-coiner, okay? Having one free NFT to your name. I want you to do better. I want you to move out of your grandma's basement. I don't want you living with your sister. I want you to get a girlfriend and maybe potentially that leads to marriage. I want you to be successful. I want that more than you want it for yourself. I don't want you to be fat. Okay? I don't want you to be laying on your couch right now as you're watching my show. Your fat ass laying on your couch, smelling like dog shit with your ripped shirt, wishing, silently wishing that you were in my position, but then at the same time hating like nobody's business. And this has no, hey, listen, man. Everybody gets offended. My message in health goes towards anorexic people and fat people. Both should be healthier. Anorexic people should start eating more. Okay, look at the vegans. Have you seen vegans? They look like they're dying. They're all green in the face, eating plants like a giraffe. You literally got fucking people eating leaves off of a tree like a giraffe. That is not normal. And then you got fat people, okay, overweight people eating fast food every single day saying tomorrow will be, and you got a gym membership, which is fucking insane. I'm telling you, man, when you start feeling better about yourself, everything changes, right? When you start feeling better about yourself, when you look in the mirror, or not even like aesthetically, like as soon as you start working out or eating healthier or becoming healthy, your mindset changes. Now you're ready to dominate, okay? You're ready to dominate. You're ready to change your life. You're ready to retire your family. Things change. Things change. I'm only telling you the truth, okay? Nobody, if I seen you and you're overweight, I would tell you, man, you're overweight. You need to get to the gym. If I seen you looking like you're 80 pounds and you're green in the face and you smell like shit, I'm gonna tell you, you smell like shit, you're 80 pounds, you need to eat, man. You need to get off of this plant-based diet or this goddamn vegan diet that you're on. You gotta get off, okay? I would tell you because I care. I care. And that's why I literally tell you that. I hold Bitcoin. I hold altcoins. I hold meme tokens, okay? I love the entire crypto ecosystem. The guests that I bring on, I sit back, I ask them questions. I enjoy listening to people. There are people here that enjoy listening to the guests and not to me. And I'm not here to start fights unless I feel like, you know what? I have a very good fucking point here and I can go ahead and slam this person down. No. These things will be left for my podcast. This show is questions for the guests. I want the guests to go ahead and fucking talk and tell me about certain things. Maybe I'll learn something from them talking. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me as obviously we've had the first two shows have started off like fuck. Like, God damn it, man. But God is good. God is good. And we'll make sure that everything's rectified. My staff will make sure that the visibility will be fine on X. We're talking to them. So we'll make sure that nobody tells me that they can't see the show. But if you can't see the show, by the way, make sure you go to TikTok. Make sure you go to YouTube, LinkedIn, to go ahead and tune in. Because this show is important and I deserve to have your viewership. Anyway, quote of the day. Let's go to the quote of the day. Let's go right to the quote of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to quotes. Hold on, I had some really good quotes, by the way, and now I can't find them. I can't find my good quotes. Okay, are you ready? Here's the quote of the day. Okay, here's the quote of the day. Pray for your circle because when the enemy can't touch you, he'll test everything around you. Thank you for tuning in. For those who couldn't tune in on X, if you see this recording, we'll chop it up. By the way, we're gonna chop it up, and you can see it on the Gottstein Clips handle on Twitter. You can see this on YouTube. Shout out to everybody though who tuned in, and shout out to Fred. Thank you, Fred, for coming on. Appreciate Fred. Fred Kroger came on today to talk about Bitcoin. Maxi came on to talk about Bitcoin, where he sees Bitcoin going. 45-minute conversation. We'll have it clipped up. We'll have it put out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Show runs until 2. We have a good guest, definitely a good guest coming on. We also have a really good lineup next week, a really good lineup, so stay tuned. And shout out to everybody. Can I say one last thing? Can I say one last thing? We have so many people booked to come on and all this stuff. I had 2 people have the audacity to ask me how much am I going to pay them to bring them on. So I know there are shows out here that are paying people to bring them on to their show. That is such bullshit, bro. Swear to God, I will never. You should be honored to come onto a show. You should be honored to come on my show. I will not pay you dick to come onto my show. There have been major people that have come onto my show and never asked for a cent. They wanted the conversation. I have some fucking minor leaguers asking for money. Are you fucking crazy? Nobody even knows you. You're asking for money and nobody knows you. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, which is tomorrow, I'm out. And this show is sponsored by Gemini, episode 644. This is part 2, by the way. Sponsored by Gemini. Go to Gemini.com/David G to learn more about the credit cards that Gemini has to offer. All issued by WebBank. The Bitcoin credit card, the XRP credit card, and the Solana credit card. Also, sign up using my link with my pretty face on it. Trade $1,000 in crypto, get $100 in Bitcoin. We will be talking politics tomorrow. And also crypto. I think Hotep Jesus is coming on. Hotep Jesus, the man, the myth, the legend. Appearances on Rogan, Timcast, Fox, all over the place, making movies. By the way, tune in. He's live right now, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hotep Jesus live on Kick. I'm out, boys.